Hi, I'm John,
And I'm Eric.
and we are proud affiliates of the You Run Podcast Network.
Head on over to yourunpodcast.com to check out all of our content, all of our affiliates' content, and so much more.
See y'all there. What the fuck?
I don't know how to explain what we've gotten ourselves into. All I know is that we are gonna have to fight our way out of it. Tooth and nail. We're gonna have to drag ourselves through the dirt. We're gonna have to swallow blood.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another riveting edition of Under the Floorboards, where we laugh at the creatures that go bump in the night. I am your host, John, joined this week by the beautiful cast and crew of The House Among the Trees, the highly anticipated for probably a couple years now. I know I've been excited about it for a while, so very excited to have these cool dudes on. So one at a time, we're going to start off with, we've got Cullen Lovelock.
Hey, how are you guys? I play Matthew Craven in House Among the Trees, and super stoked to be able to be on this podcast with everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here today. We've got Mr. Blair Hoyle.
Hi, I'm Blair Hoyle. I'm the screenwriter, producer, and I play Corey in House Among the Trees.
I was more impressed that I said your last name right.
You got it right. You got it.
We've got the one and only Wes Robinson. It's been a long time coming, brother. Welcome to the.
We've known each other, what, like 2 years now or something?
It's
Never
really
really
me
have
just
seen-
like insta stalking you until you respond.
yeah. So I play Jack. I'm also a producer and digital producer and Tyler's therapist.
Yeah.
Well, when you like wear this many different shoes, I think it makes sense. So the one and only Tyler Horner, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how's it going, brother? Yeah, I'm the director, cinematographer, editor, producer. Yeah, so got hands in all the buckets, but that's how it is. So
Yeah, and I noticed that with a lot of these interviews too, man, is like the deeper you get into indie, it's just like, oh my God, that person's so talented. Well, they had to learn how to do 30 different fucking things to make the movie happen.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, I noticed when I was watching this film, and actually I'll give you guys my first impression of it before I have another question. But first of all, I wanted to say, like, I really loved how genre melding this was. Like, yes, there was a lot of elements of horror. There was also noir. There was mystery. It was a little Canterbury Tales at times, which I kind of thought was cool. Like the discussion that happens in the shed between everybody. I was like, yeah, like this feels like a little Chaucer-esque to me. It's got some heist elements to it, which I think it's just because it's like my favorite movie is I kept drawing parallels for the three main characters from Reservoir Dogs. Like, you definitely have like Corey being the neurotic Mr. Pink. You've got Cullen playing Mr. Blonde. You've definitely got Wes as Mr. White. Like it all just kind of felt like y'all were playing these really cool yet different archetypes. So definitely brought a lot of that story to life.
Thanks, man.
yeah,
But-
thank you.
One of the challenges that I know you guys kind of run into is there were a lot of locations for this for an independent film. Like I think I counted about 5 or 6, which feels pretty high, So what was that like kind of pulling all that together? And Tyler, we'll start with you on that.
Okay, yeah. So this is pretty wild. So the original script for The House Among the Trees was so different. It was a lot more was supposed to happen in the house at the beginning, and we had it going a different direction. Last minute, with some change of plans, we had to adapt and switch up. So I ended up knowing a good friend of mine, Larry Justice. Massive shout out to him. When I tell you we could not have finished this movie without Larry, that is not a joke. We literally could not have done it. So I hit up Larry last minute. I was like, hey man, we've got this feature. These are the locations we need. And him and I had talked prior about a year before that. So I kind of knew what he had already. and went to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I would love to be a part of it." And that was that. And he had pretty much all of those. So Ridge location, although that's not his location, it's around his place. The shack, that's his property. He's got, I think, around maybe 50 to 60 acres of land with abandoned properties on it, trailers, all kinds of stuff. So the trailer towards more the end of the movie, that as well, that's Larry's. There's a lot of locations here that were on Larry's property. And with all the different locations we have, to be honest with you, in the end, we kind of lucked out. So I think it worked out. Go ahead, Blair.
It's everything with this project, and we made it in sort of an unconventional way. At least I've never made a movie this way, where we shot the first sequence and then basically wrote the rest of the movie afterwards. And we had the original draft of the feature screenplay was so different than the one that we ended up considering the shooting script until 2 weeks prior, and then the actual shooting script, which I then rewrote in a week to accommodate last minute changes. But every change that we were forced into making, I don't want to get too into what the original screenplay was going to be because I don't want to give people a weird perception going into the movie for the
I
first
just
time.
want to know it later.
I'll tell you.
So how does that dynamic kind of change with like this pivot? Obviously, I'm not trying to ask questions to bury anybody. I'm just curious because I know that with the story building itself, between Blair and Tyler and Jake in this, and then, Blair, you transcribing that into screenplay format, what was that process like? Because like you said, like it sounded like you shot a proof of concept and then had to shift everything.
No,
So
yeah.
Tyler and I were working on a project earlier that year, and both of us kind of felt creatively kind of backed into a corner, like we weren't able
Yeah.
to really. Is that a fair thing to say,
No,
Tyler?
yeah, 100% fair. Yep, that's the truth.
And we would kind of escape from everybody to go to this one Dairy Queen in the town we were shooting in. We kept that Dairy Queen in business for
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, man.
and while we were there, we'd never met, and we were just kind of talking about the movies we liked and stuff. And he pitched me this idea. It was like, I really want to make this movie about these three guys who break into a house, and it's not what they're expecting. And that was kind of the general idea. And he was like, Tyler had like the basic like log line of three thieves break into a house and something happens. And he like cast me before there was like a screenplay. And then we did another project that I was acting in that was incredibly demoralizing for me. I would ask the director character questions, he wouldn't have an answer. And the screenplay, like I was asking like logistics questions about like how would these people get here, and like, oh, don't worry about it. And as a actor, but more importantly, as a screenwriter, that's incredibly frustrating because I map out everything in my mind. Like, where is everybody at all times? And would it be possible for them to get to this location in this time? And so on and so forth. So I sort of bullied my way into writing the screenplay. People think that I bully my way into acting into movies, but I get cast in stuff without a screenplay and then bully my way into writing it. And that's kind of what happened here. And me, Jake, and Tyler brainstormed a few different ideas, and we found one that we really liked. And then I went and wrote that screenplay. And then we realized what a logistics nightmare that would be and how incredibly expensive it would be, much more expensive than we thought. And we realized like we can either do like a stripped down version of this or just kind of like go back to the drawing board. But at this point, we were like close to shooting the proof of concept. So I was like, I promise I'm not going to do anything insane, like too insane. Let me run with this. So I wrote a draft and sent it to them, and they were both like, they had minor notes, but they were both very much like on the same page as me, which is great to have, producing partners say like, yeah, this is the movie we should make. And
Well, dude, when it's also one of those things when you're delegating, different things to people, I think letting people do their job, to be just straight up, is the thing that's important here. Like, let people run and do their job and do what they're good at. And that's why I let Blair run with it, because I trusted him and I knew that whatever he came back with, it was going to be good and I was going to like it. And that, is due in part, whether that's we both like the same movies, like the same type of filmmaking, whatever that is. We were just on the same page with that. And that's what it really comes down to.
100%. And actually, speaking of performances, I really wanted to ask, Colin, what was it like bringing you onto this project? Because there were a lot of moments for your character that I was really impressed with how you were developing him. Like, there's one scene in particular where like you give like the eye roll 3000, and it is like
Yeah.
one of my
Well, it's fucking
favorite
hilarious in
shots in
this
the
movie.
film.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those that it's not immersion breaking, and I felt like your character was like ironically comedic a lot of the time, and I felt like that pulled through really well.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. Starting off, I've been friends with Tyler, for some years, and he's an amazing director. So I always have the utmost respect for him. So when he first, mentioned this project, he was asking me if I'd be interested in, reading for the role. And of course, I was always down for it. And, once we went ahead and, shot the first 15, that was my first time meeting everyone. So be able to work with Tyler, being able to work with Wes and Blair for the first time. I mean, we essentially had to rely on building that, that connection and that chemistry while being on set and shooting. And it was an amazing cast and crew members. So I think being able to work with Blair and Wes, side by side was something that it gave us that comfortability, or gave me that comfortability of knowing that, like, hey, I have a huge range that I can play with here, and then of course with Tyler being the director, he doesn't set limits. He's like always open to things, and it's like, hey, yeah, try this, let's go ahead and do it. I mean, there's times in between, scenes where, all four of us are just discussing like, hey, this is what the scene is, but how can we kind of tweak it a little bit? How can we, pivot and make it a little bit more, scary, make it a little bit more, just bringing a lot more energy to the scene. And working side by side with all of them was something that was an amazing experience that I'll always bring with me. And so I think that ultimately, to answer your question, was something that was a key point for me in being able to really get that performance out of me. And it's just great to hear that you're able to see that, because that's exactly what I was shooting for. And yeah, I mean, being able to work with everyone was an amazing time. And I think that was really the pivotal moment where we're able to just kind of let loose, and we understood that this was a safe place, and just try whatever we can do and see if it lands.
Coming from all the way across the pond, VHS Tasties is protecting the sanctity of film one VHS tape at a time.
Check out their YouTube channel for interactive collecting, film reviews, interviews, and so much more.
You can find Video Tasties on YouTube and yourunpodcast.com.
Which to add to that, I don't think we even really had to try all that much. Like, our chemistry was there from the first
it
day
came
one.
through.
Yeah,
All
and I
three
feel
of you.
like absolutely, these three guys, the dynamic between the three, their friendship, the drama that happens, that they forgive each other and move on, and so it's I thought it all translated really well from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Like I said, coming on the set, it was my first time meeting a lot of them, and, super friendly coming up. It's like this whole cast and crew, it's like we work hard, but we also play hard, and we know that when it's time to like lock in and start shooting, okay, we're serious, we're all about it. But in between, scenes and just hanging out with one another, it's like that's building that camaraderie that you then translates,
Yeah.
on camera.
Absolutely. And
A
what's
lot of
crazy too is like it kind of makes my job a little bit easier too at times, because I can trust these guys, and I know that if they come back at me with, well, to some degree, if they come at me with something and maybe I'm not too sure about it or whatever, I know that whatever they're gonna do and what they're gonna deliver in that next take or whatever it is, it's gonna be solid. And whether that we go with it or not, and the edit is, that's what we decide. But I just trust them so much, and I think that trust is really what brought those three together and make them such great characters as a whole and as a unit, really.
Yeah, and like a huge benefit going into this project that you don't always get, in fact, you usually don't get it, was the three of us were cast before the screenplay was written. So I was able to write those three characters for the three of us. And I had not met Cullen yet, but I'd seen a movie that he and Tyler had made prior and kind of knew the vibe. And I'd worked with Wes and knew how to make me more authentic, I guess, less hateable than I generally am through screenwriting. So that was a huge benefit as a screenwriter, I think, to be able to write something knowing the screenplay would lend itself to the performances and vice versa, and not just make an actor try to find something authentic from the writing, if
Absolutely.
that makes sense.
Which we also, I mean, we did quite a bit of improv too, which Blair was cool with, which is always appreciated. Just
Yeah.
trying,
Oh yeah.
which Tyler touched on, just trying different stuff on the day to see what, worked and what didn't. And,
Yeah,
which I think honestly, a lot of that, well, some of that comedy really came from the improv, just going crazy with it.
There was
and
maybe
I'm sorry.
two
I'm like,
scenes entirely that.
Hey.
What
just like,
was up?
ow.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. There's some stuff in this film that comes in threes, and good God, they're so fucking funny.
that was something I was kind of I always I have a weird sense of humor. So even things I've worked on that I don't think anyone would consider a comedy, I find very funny. And there's a sequence late in the movie, where all hell breaks loose inside of this house, and there's a lot of violence in a very short period of time. And it's the only time I've ever laughed while writing a screenplay because I just found it so funny. And in execution, I find it so funny. And everyone in the world can tell me this sequence is not funny, and I don't give a shit. I think it's hilarious. And that's all I care about at the end of the day is, do I find it funny? And if I do, then hopefully other people will as well. But yeah, comedy, like there was always a dark comedy element to it. I think we just heightened that in the moments.
Mhm.
And I mean, you've seen the movie at this point. I I ran this by Tyler, and I can't believe he didn't have any sort of like pushback on it. But we were talking about performance, and I was like, I know how intense Wes can be, and Cullen's character is this sort of like tough guy. I was like, I need to have a weirdness to me, and I thought being this like wife guy who is caught up in this.
Wife guy.
Yeah, like Corey is the ultimate wife guy. He just wants
I've
to get
never
all
heard you
the girl.
explain this, Blair. This makes so much sense now.
And if you watch the movie now, and I ran this by Tyler, I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna do like Don Knotts in The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. And Tyler was so like had other things going on. He was like, just do whatever you want. And I don't think he understood the extent of how I was gonna do Don Knotts in The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. And if you watch those two movies back to back, you will be shocked by how much Don Knotts idling in this movie.
There it is, baby.
Nice. Yeah, and I think one of the things that this movie did so well for me was that dark comedy element, because a lot of it I feel like comes from the perfect example of what this movie continuously does is when you watch Black Swan, there's a moment at the end where she delivers her performance. She's about to walk back into, get dressed to become the Black Swan for the final scene. And there's like this Frank Dormani style, like violin rise in the back. And she's like losing her mind when she's walking off stage, and the dude in the fucking chicken suit just goes, "Hey," and like completely breaks the
Yeah.
And I felt like this film really thrived on moments like that because the intensity was there really throughout the entire movie. And what I really enjoyed about it is you just get dropped off in the middle of this from the beginning. Is we didn't need 20 extra minutes of why Jack is trying to steal shit for his grandmother's cancer treatment or whatever the fucking lore would be for that, like.
Yeah.
And it felt like we were just more like, and actually one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about, Tyler, is, and I know I messaged you about this too, but one of the things that I was so fucking impressed with this film, and it made so much more sense of why it took so long to edit this film, is the amount of coverage that y'all had was insane. Like I've only edited a short film before, and that still felt like it took like 6 months to do. So and like even just the beginning, where Jack's character is walking through the house feels like so much. Like it feels like the pacing is just bang, 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 bang. And it keeps up that intensity when ultimately it's a dude walking through a house. You know what I mean? And it's impressive to be able to take something like that and meld it into something almost sinister, right?
I had someone say something very similar to what you just said about that opening sequence, where it's like this should not be as fluid as it is for a guy walking through a house. But I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Well, it's like one of those things too, is like when you have a guy walking through a house, you also need to, at least the way that I approached it was I wanted to come up with a way that we could shoot this that immediately gets people hooked, because it's a slow start to a movie when you think about it. It really is. He's walking through the house and it takes just a second to get into it. So I was like, we need to have some of these shots here be just really beautiful, really nice, and get people hooked immediately. So we open up with, like, the crane shot, and then that shot looking down as Wes walks into the house, and it has the chandelier. I was like, we need to come up with shots that really hook people, and I hope we did that, and I'm really happy with how that sequence turned out. And also Wes, though, back to what he's saying, uh, you know, there's nuances that he's added to everything, and including him simply walking through the house. Like, there's even moments where, like, Wes will, like, drag his hand along the wall and stuff, and it may not seem like a big deal, but it adds to his character, and it adds to just these little nuances, these little movements that he does. It all comes together, and it all matters in the end. And so, and also, to your point, yes, we shot the hell out of this movie. Yeah, I like to just have a bunch of coverage. I like to have a bunch of stuff, like, to work with, even if we don't use it. And sometimes that's not always the smartest way to go about it, but I just like to have a lot of coverage, man. And I like to be able to have a lot to pick through, and find little things that I can cut to here and there. So.
We had some pretty ambitious days too, and we still
Oh
don't.
my gosh.
Yeah.
We shot, like, I don't know if you guys remember, we were supposed to have 2 days in the house, and we ended up with like a day and a couple hours. So
Yeah.
That's
everything you
right.
see
That's
in that
right.
house,
Forgot.
we shot in, like, I think it was like 10 total hours at that location, which
Oh
is
yeah, like a day and a half. It was, yeah, it was.
The everything, John, everything at the point in the beginning, which people have seen in the first 15, but I won't spoil anything for people who haven't. But there's a lot of dialogue scenes that we literally shot within like 45 minutes. We just had to hammer them out, and they turned out great. So I don't know, man. It's just like we were all dialed in. We knew what we needed, and everyone was prepared, and so we just did it. But yeah, we definitely had like a day and a few hours versus 2 days for that whole sequence.
and
Yeah.
two days was pushing it. 2 days was like, man,
I know.
we got a lot to get done. And then it was like, actually,
Yeah, we get
a
done filming
couple
the first
hours on
day.
day
Yeah.
two.
Yeah,
Didn't
we get
find
done
that
filming that
out
first day.
the
What'd you
day
say?
of the second
We
day?
found out that night.
Yeah, that night.
Yeah,
Fucking
that's
yep.
I mean that's Andy, like everything's like subject to change and change again and change again and change again. It's like, but yeah.
So, Wes, question I had for you actually was, I've been a fan of yours for a long while now, and you always deliver these very emotional performances a lot of time, and I think this is definitely another example of that in this film. But what is it like when you're trying to deliver a performance like that while also being on the production side of things? Because that's a lot more stress. Like, does that feed into your performance, or is that one of those things where you just kind of have to separate the two out?
Honestly, I would love to be like, yeah, I balance both, but I feel like I really was when we were shooting there to be an actor. I did a lot of the digital work and stuff before and during in post, but like on set, I felt pretty much most of the time just talent. And thank you for what you said, by the way. That means a lot to me. And keep saying more, but I'm just kidding. But
He messaged
no,
me
but
like, "Can I be
seriously, like,
goodie of the year this year?"
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna be the goodie of the year this year.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking on camera right now, but I don't know.
But yeah, no, I mean, I did. I felt, like the talent. I got to focus on all of that, and what was cool is, a lot of the stuff that Blair was talking about that had changed. I still think changed for the better, and there were scenes. I mean, the very first scene we shot, I won't give it away, but it's Jack and some other person in a home discussing things. And it was like the perfect like first scene to shoot for the feature, because there was like first 15 and then there was something like 4 or 5 months in between when we shot the rest of the movie, which was ultimately a different film. And I just kept looking at them, like everybody, and just being like, well, this worked out so well, and like all the changes were just like, to me, positive. Like, you've got this crazy like nice house, and you've got this more rustic house, and like you've got there's all these different tones, and it kind of fits, like the locations kind of fit with tones of the film, because there's so, like you said, there's so many different like little nuances of genre in there, like just different things. And that's my favorite thing about this film. It's just like there's there's kind of an ass for every chair, you know what I'm saying? Or chair for every ass. There we go. I'm the ass.
No, 100%. So with this film, you know, it's what I really liked was the runtime. Again, coming back to the editing for a second, because I think a lot of oversaturation has kind of been happening in a lot of films now, where you know films are 3 to fucking 4 hours long, and like all the craziness. And I think that you can tell a self-contained story, you know, but it under the 90-minute mark is the big thing
Yeah.
for me. And I think horror does that really well for the most part. Um, Now that being said, there was a lot of cool things that y'all were alluding to. There was a lot of cool things that, like you were talking about the breadcrumb trails and stuff like that. And I'd kind of like to hear from everybody on this one, since everyone's pretty in depth in this story. If y'all were to expand on the amount of information and lore in this, do you think that would be better done in a prequel or a sequel?
So I will
Um,
chime in real quick before Tyler
What-
gives away.
I mean, honestly, I think we all have the exact same answer of a sequel.
Sequel. We've discussed it. I'll just throw that out there. And it was less a discussion of like a lot of filmmakers, particularly indie filmmakers, put the cart before the horse and map out a trilogy before they've shot the first movie. And then, you know, they make a first movie that is really just setting the stage for something to come instead of making a good movie. And so we didn't want to do that, but there was a lot of conversation about like what happens after the end of this movie to sort of dictate how we shot and like how the characters behaved in the film that we made. So we know what happens after the movie, and I think joking, like Tyler and I were driving back from the location we were shooting in one night, and I threw out like a crazy idea of like what a sequel might look like. And if we were to do a sequel, it would be that idea. Now that you've seen the movie, I can tell you later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after this. I think
Hell
he'll
yeah.
like it.
But it is, and I think with a movie like this, it's very, you have to up the ante. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 had to be that movie because the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was so its own thing that they had to go crazy with a sequel. Whereas ours is sort of like throwing a lot of things at the wall in the first movie. So like what would a sequel to that look like? Like there's 37 genres in the first one. Do we try to get 70 in the second? Do we strip it down?
Yeah. No, I did that.
Boys, we're going meta.
I will say where we would go in a sequel, the character dynamics amongst everyone that are established in The House Among the Trees, those arcs continue to go in a sequel.
Interesting. I mean, obviously, that's all dependent on who survives and who doesn't in this film.
Yeah,
To a degree.
very
To a
true.
degree.
That's another thing that I really liked about this film was it never felt like anyone had plot armor the entire time.
Thank you so much for saying that. Seriously, that is something Blair and I talk about all the time. And that we wanted it to be like, you know, if someone's gonna die in this movie, like the moment you see it, there's no second guessing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're dead. And you're not coming back from 37 stab wounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know what you.
the violence particularly, that was a huge thing we discussed initially was like what was the vibe of the violence going to be? And a huge reference point for me is the movie Brawl in Cell Block 99, which is like a gritty, like very serious exploitation film from a few years back. But there's a moment in that movie where the violence just becomes insane, surrealist almost. And in this film, like the violence starts off like very realistic and uncomfortable, and then we just slowly amp up, getting to like a more and more
Yeah.
unhinged level.
And you had the
And-
man himself, Derek Worley, on that, who did an amazing job per usual.
Oh yeah. He killed it. He did great. It was great working with Derek again. So
I would say I keep reminding myself that like all of y'all make these awesome movies together, and most of y'all are like dapping up on sets because you've worked with each other on like all these different projects and stuff like that. It's really cool to see that kind of grow and expand out because I think when you look at like the credits of this film in particular, it's one of those when you look at it, you know kind of thing. Like if you watch indie film and stuff like that, especially horror, you're seeing these names come up and come up and come up and come up, and there's so much talent in front of the camera as you'll see in the film, but there's so much going on behind that is so impressive too. You know, you got Frank Dormani making your score. You know what I mean? Like, who's the fucking man?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Man.
So what was it? So other than that, I know you guys also used Wind Wakers and Keep Close or Wind
Yeah,
Walkers,
man.
right?
Yeah.
So what
Dude.
what was that process like for getting these guys?
Yeah, man. So this is crazy. So, um, let's see. About I don't know, a few months after we had wrapped up shooting, we knew that we wanted to include music into this movie. But I wanted to be very, very particular about what we put in the movie because this might come off a way, but like, when watching some movies and like there's certain music choices that are made, you can kind of it's just either the vibe is off or, you know, it just doesn't work. Okay. It's kind of what I'm
I will piggyback on what Tyler's saying, which he and I agree on. We were all in agreement of this, is that it is often immersion breaking when a licensed song takes over from a piece of score, I guess. And every time you hear a licensed song in this movie, it's playing on a radio or like the characters hear the song as well. And that was kind of an important detail that we wanted to kind of obey. And there's great licensed music, but it's all playing within the confines of the world that the characters are living in.
Yeah, and so I had in regard to the whole Windwalkers thing, like I was just randomly scrolling around on socials one day and came across the guys and heard that song Drowning Hymns that we have in there, and I was like, this is crazy. I would love to have this in the movie. And I was like, this sounds grand. This sounds crazy. Like I just think this would be a nice companion piece. So I reached out to those guys and it was pretty much just that. And, slowly as we've gotten to where we are, it's kind of become in a weird way, like kind of I wouldn't, not so much of an anthem, but just kind of like that, I guess. Yeah. It's kind of an anthem for the movie, but, also, we have Keep Close in there, and we also have Wes's cousin as well, a part of this, which, that song serves such a great, I guess purpose in the movie where it's put in there, and it just fits that scene so well. Every piece of music we have in here was very deliberate and it was very nitpicked. And I think it accompanies Frank's incredible score as well.
Yeah.
100%. So for the actors here, and I've always been curious about this myself because I know everybody kind of does their own method, right? Of like how they get into character. Some people are like, everyone has to shut the fuck up on set. Some people are just like, all right, we drop into this now. Yeah, we have all of these different things. So for me, it's got to be crazy when you're doing like some of these beat down scenes, and you're throwing the punch and the sound's going to be put in later and you're doing this like reaction to it and stuff like that. What's it like putting yourself in those shoes? Because they're pulled off really well, but it's got to be weird when you're on set, at least to somebody who can't act, right?
As someone who can't act, it was very difficult to do that.
No, you had a pretty good scene there at the end.
Thank you. Yeah,
don't sell yourself short.
Thank you. I mean, I attribute a lot of that to Caleb Wilkinson, who was incredible, like an incredible scene partner. Yeah, we were all pretty blown away by him. I really liked his process as an actor a lot. I'm not an actor. I don't study acting. I don't audition. I acted in one movie like 10 years ago, and then every like year someone asked me to do another one. So I just keep finding myself in these movies. But I should probably study at some point and figure out how to act. But
well, maybe if you're going to continue to keep playing the same type of character, don't continue studying, because I think the fact that you are like not considered an actor. You're very quirky with certain things, but I think it also works for you. So
Yeah.
Like everything I did was kind of like either how I would react in real life. Um, which, a lot of people don't like that. They're like, this guy's like so inauthentic. And I'm like, that's just who I am. I think you just think I'm an asshole, which is fine, but that
Called,
is the
called
authentic
acting. Of course
reaction.
it's inauthentic. Colin, what about yourself, brother?
yeah, man. I think for me, the main thing is just making sure that I know my lines. If I know my lines, then I feel comfortable coming to set and not necessarily just performing and doing what I need to do, but also having that understanding of what's really going on. I feel like as an actor, for me personally, the one thing is if I don't understand my lines, it takes me away from the scene because when I'm in that scene, it's like, okay, what's my next line? Okay, he says this and I say that, and it just takes away from the performance. And if you kind of have it down pat where you know your lines, forward, backwards, up, down, you can do it in your sleep. That gives me personally the confidence in knowing that, okay, whatever happens in this scene, we may veer off track and improv a little bit, but we can get our way, back there. And, there was one scene that was just crazy. I had some personal things going on in my life. I had to go back up to Charlotte for a bit. I had a wedding that I had to that I was a part of, and then I had to drive back down that same day. So I had to wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m., drive all the way back down to Georgia, which is like a 4.5 hour drive. And then I think this day, the bridge scene, right, Tyler?
Yes,
Wasn't it an hour and a half
I
south?
was just going to, yes, I was just going to bring this up to like give you guys some props. Go ahead, continue.
No, it was one of those where I mean like I think I just realized I was like, oh, I'm fucked. Like we had like an 10-page like scene, and there was it was super heavy dialogue, and I was not able to study at all like that entire weekend for this particular scene. And I'm literally trying to, I'm working with my girlfriend on the car ride down, trying to go through the lines. It just wasn't sticking. And I was like, at that point, I'm like, fuck it. I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. So got to set. I was telling Tyler, I was like, dude, honestly, bro, I need time. I need to go over to this bench over here. I need to start reading it. And still didn't stick until we started blocking. And as we started blocking and going through it while Tyler and the rest of the crew members are setting things up, working with Wes and Blair, it was like, okay, now we're going through the actions, and now that's allowing me to get the lines to stick, and ultimately that did. So going back to your main question, right, is like, what do I do as an actor? I'm not necessarily a method actor. I think that's, that works for some people. It doesn't work for me. And I think it's the main thing is just making sure I have my lines down. And at that point, I feel confident and comfortable with whatever the fuck happens. So.
Well, and I need to add something to that. The scene he is talking about, it's the scene where the three guys are chatting on the bridge. And listen, the credit these guys need is huge. So, like he was saying, he came up from driving however long it was, and I think it was the 6 to 7 pages of straight dialogue all the way through. I mean, I think the scene is like 3 or 4 minutes long, and just straight dialogue of these three going back and forth. And I believe we did 2 takes. We had 2 cameras running, 2 takes, and we used the entire take of the second take with both cams. So that entire like 3 or 4 minutes is literally a one take of the three of them bickering back and forth. And they nailed it. They nailed it in 2 takes, and it was so remarkable to watch. And the fact that Cullen was able to snap in and lock in. Just go back to what he was saying a little bit ago, about how, we can, whether we're goofing off or whether we're this or whether we're that, once it's time and we're ready to lock in, like we can lock in and make it happen. So it just goes to show how well all three of these guys are, especially and the trust that they give each other, that they're going to be there and they're going to make it happen on the day.
Yeah, writing those like 9-page unbroken dialogue sequences is, a string of Blair Hoyle, the screenwriter, fucking Blair Hoyle, the actor, very hard with having to nail a lot of like emotionally shifting dialogue sequences. And when Tyler was like, I think I want to do this in one take, I felt so bad for Wes and Cullen and myself because I was like, when I was writing this, I did not think that we were gonna have to do all of this in a oneer. But
And I mean,
it's so much
dude,
better because of it. It's so much better because of it.
exactly, dude. It really is. And to be honest, it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Same, same.
It adds to that heist style cinematography. Like you get that Reservoir Dogs feeling out of that one take, and I think that scene's really impressive. And that's
Thank you.
insane. That's absolutely insane that y'all did that in 2 takes.
Thank
John,
you.
to
Thank
go
you very
off
much.
of, what you said earlier about these intense scenes, I always found it like interesting because you kind of like as an actor, you kind of have to like decide how stupid am I going to look on set to look better afterwards. So my method is to just grunt the hell out of everything, jump around, shake off my limbs and like grunt and, combine all that stuff and go for it, but you kind of look stupid in the moment, but
Hey, it's whatever works, man.
film, I guess, yeah.
I mean, I see guys doing that downtown all the time. So
Yeah.
whatever works.
It's literally Wes that you're
Yeah.
watching do it.
Yeah, probably.
So congratulations also on y'all are starting to hit the festival circuit as well.
Yeah, man.
So where are some places that people are going to be able to see this? I saw there's one in April. Is there anything else that's been confirmed yet?
Yeah, so we're actually gonna be like having the world premiere here in Atlanta at Days of the Dead. So yeah, so we're super excited about that. That's coming up. We have yet to disclose any more details about it. But that's where we're having the world premiere, so we're super excited about
Stay
it.
tuned.
Yeah, we're gonna be playing a lot of festivals. I think those are the only. Well, Spring Lane's the only one that's been announced yet.
Yeah.
But we're locked in for a few, and we'll be trying to play every festival who wants us. I sometimes filmmakers can be very precious about where their movies screen, and I think we want to take this thing on the road and play every possible venue that will have us
Yeah.
across the world. So we'll be playing a lot of festivals before, the festival run is concluded.
And I think we're in a good position too, because I mean, just the actor here, right? I'm not part of, the production team. That's all them. But one thing that I really enjoy about this film is, as you've been able to see, John, it's very different than a lot of movies that are coming out nowadays, especially a horror indie type film. We have that action, we have that horror, and then we also have the comic side. And I think that will really we can really use that as leverage, for looking at these other film festivals in the future, because it's something that allows us to stand out from the crowd. And it's our own sort of unique take on that type of genre or genres, combine into one project. So, as Blair, Tyler, and Wes have mentioned, they're trying to get it out to everyone and anyone that would accept us. But I think we're in a good position because it's something that really allows us to be a 2-3 steps ahead of some of these other films that are out there.
Yeah.
And Days of the Dead is a big deal, guys. Like that's a pretty like jumping up and down kind of shit. Like that's incredible. Like
Thanks, man.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh.
Days of the Dead's been so good to me. Like, I really love that festival. George and Audrey, who are the film festival programmers there, are just wonderful, have always been. Really, for some of the weirder projects I've done, they were the ones who like we're willing to shine a light on it and take a chance. And I love that festival so much. So
Yeah, and with it being like centrally located, where we shot it and where everybody's at, it just seems to make sense. And that's what we want. We want it to make sense. We want to have a party. We want to have a good time with everybody and celebrate this movie because, it has been a few years since we shot it. And so we really want to celebrate and have a good time with it.
And that's one of the coolest things about this fandom too. You go to these conventions and people are just so excited for, even if they've never met you before, they're like, oh my God, this looks so cool. Can you tell me about it? And like, that's what the horror community really is.
Yeah, man. And I'm honestly like, in adding with that, we also are going to have a booth there as well, like being able to promote our, merchandise, whatever it is, and just sit there and talk to people about the movie that want to talk about it. And, that's the exciting thing, is getting to meet these people who have never heard of our movie, that'll hopefully come and check it out. So, and get to go back and forth on it with them. So yeah, you're exactly right, man.
So after the festival run, are we looking at physical media as well, or are we just going to go straight into streaming?
if Netflix wants to give us $40 million for it, I will concede and people can bootleg the Blu-ray. But short of that, we will absolutely have a physical media release for this. I will fight tooth and nail for it.
No pun intended.
I would say, saw what you did there.
Now I see what you did there as I think about it. But yeah,
I would say the Keep Close guys are great. They actually let us use their music for because they were originally going to perform for the Indie Awards this year.
Oh, wicked, man.
Well, they wound up getting a tour deal, and I was just like, dude, go do that. Like, there's no hard feelings. They were like, you could still use our music. I was like, done. Perfect.
Nice.
Amazing, dude. Yeah, they're great, dude. They're great over there.
Yeah, they're super talented. I've been listening to some of his stuff on his page when he does like covers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too.
man.
He's out of this world. Both.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
But I'm excited for the physical media thing. Really excited for. Are y'all going to do it through like a shop so we can get signed Blu-rays?
So, one, if anyone wants me to sign anything, I will sign. Like, I will sign for free. I'm not, the signed ones. If you're getting me to sign it, they are completely free. Come find me at a festival, convention, whatever. I'll sign it. Hopefully, if we end up self-distributing, that will 1,000,000% be an option to buy signed Blu-rays and whatnot. And if it's through a distributor, it would be nice. I've done it before where a distributor sent me the like inserts and I signed the cover and sent them back. And so when you bought it from them, my signature was already on it. But most of us are like super approachable people. So if you see us at a convention or a festival or whatever and want something signed, more than happy to do that for you.
Hell yeah, because I had to subsidize my collection, so the deal in our house is I can only bring in signed Blu-rays now. It hasn't changed anything.
You spend more on the signed version. Yeah, that's the
That's the great part about doing these interviews. I'm like, hey man, can I just like send you this? And they're like, yeah.
Oh yeah, man. We can send some stuff your way. I got some stuff here that you might dig. So.
Oh shit, son.
Yeah, we got you.
The last question I have in honor of Eric, who could not be with us today. He is snowed in at home and doesn't have the equipment, so he would sound like garbage. But what he always likes to ask everyone is what goes on your pizza?
Oh, nice. Okay.
Derek was very opinionated about this one.
I say, you want me to kick this off? Because I'm a psycho about this.
Yeah, this is going to be like spread thin throughout everybody. I have a feeling.
So if I get to pick any pizza I want, I'm going Connecticut. I'm getting Neapolitan style, cheese only. That's my like go-to pizza. If people are ordering and you're getting like Domino's or what, like, the big five or whatever, I'm going with pepperoni.
The final four.
Yes. New York style, pepperoni. But there are places where the pizza is generally not good and you always have to like quadruple down on ingredients, on toppings. So if it's like bad pizza, like a Marco's pizza, you got to get either meat lovers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe other Marco's really good. I spent a year at NC State in North Carolina and there was a Marco's pizza that was terrible. But if you put a bunch of shit on it, you could choke it down.
Great.
It would like mask the bad cheese and bad sauce.
Listen, I'm no connoisseur of pizza here like Blair. But if I had to pick toppings for a pizza, I have it right here in my hand. So what I have here is a barbecue recipe chicken flatbread. These are at Walmart. If you have not had these, anybody that's listening to this, go get one. And then put some of these suckers on there. Banana pepper rings. You will thank me later. I am not terribly too picky about things. However, it's usually a Supreme pizza or one of these, and it's then topped with ranch. So there it is.
Back to the ranch.
So I would just like to interrupt real quick. Tyler was giving me about not being a connoisseur. He's holding a frozen pizza just in his bedroom. He's just hanging out with a frozen pizza and banana peppers, and I'm the weirdo for liking specific pizza.
I think Blair had like states and like different conditions and like forecasts for his pizza.
I know he can
I
only
love
eat it
his-
during like cloudy weather.
Cold
I
or
was
hot
just
it is
gonna drop
outside. This is the
the
kind of pizza I'm getting.
yeah. I was
Trust me.
just gonna drop
With a
the
Mexican Coke. New York and Neapolitan slices with a Mexican Coke. Thank me later.
damn.
So,
Uh,
so you
Yeah,
need a
how you
diet
just
banana
that, right?
blast and a
yeah, dive in and blast. Yeah,
That too.
and some chicken tikka
by
masala.
design, by the way, John. Do you remember seeing that in the movie?
Saying which the
The
banana.
dive banana blast.
All I'm gonna say is we made a comment about what that sounded like, and he goes to pull it out of his bag and starts to drink it. I was like, it just looks like jizz. Like,
Oh my god!
So funny story about that. So I
It
wrote
was.
Yeah,
it was Minute Maid lemonade. It wasn't very good. It was very sweet. Chugging that thing was like
are
not easy.
crazy.
But in the screenplay, I knew I wanted Corey to like have a very specific weird beverage that he wanted to drink. And in the screenplay, it was a diet cherry lemon sundrop, which is like a North Carolina bev. And I wrote it in, and Tyler was like, dude, they're gonna sue us. Which like I wouldn't have, I don't think. But I was like, instead of like asking for permission, it would be funnier if I wrote in like a even crazier sounding beverage, and Diet Banana Blast is what was born out of that. And speaking of changes that make the movie better, Diet Banana Blast with Wes's like super realistic looking label to the
Yeah,
point
hold
where
on.
I wonder if people will think it's a real thing.
Oh,
I
dude,
got it.
I genuinely think that like there are some individuals who might like look at this thing. Like, I mean, this is
That's so sick.
That's incredible.
like Wes absolutely killed this.
Yeah, you did.
I'd love to know what those nutrition
There's little Easter eggs on it too, which no one will ever see in the movie because it's too, it's not like
Here, you know what? This
But-
is a yeah.
Share one with
There's
my
one-
neighbors, a good one.
If there's one thing
Yeah.
that makes people
Yeah.
want to do jizz, it's that right there.
100% protein.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, they make up like banana flavored condoms are like the flavors, cherry and banana. So
Inspiration, I see.
you're right there.
It's actually, fun fact, amyl acetate.
Yeah.
That is what makes banana flavor.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you
Wow.
know, there's like the whole
I've
like
been a chef for like 17 years.
real bananas used to taste like fake banana flavor does, but then those bananas like went extinct, and we only have the kind that tastes like the bananas that we know, which is why there's a disconnect with
that's what I've heard.
artificial banana flavor. I don't know how true that is, but there are definitely like studies and theories and stuff on that.
That's bananas.
I forgot to say what I liked on my pizza.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I was
Wes.
thinking we still have to get to Wes and Cullen.
Yeah, I'm I was just gonna drop the same thing that people say that no one ever likes, and that's pineapple. So
I had that the other night.
love it.
Pineapple, like Hawaiian pizza's good. Fuck people.
Yeah,
Oh, it's great.
I love it. Cullen,
Yeah, I mean, no, that was mine.
that was yours too.
Yeah. It's funny because like I am Hawaiian. So growing up, we would every summer we'd go back home and Hawaiian pizza, man. Like that's the thing right there. You get some, Canadian ham, get some pineapple, and you just put it on there. And I know I feel like you either love it or you hate it. But for me, man, I just growing up eating it, it's just great. And that's
Yeah.
my favorite thing on
So
pizza.
Hawaiian pizza is actually Hawaiian. The mainlanders didn't just like slap that name on it.
No, I think, and I mean, I don't know if Hawaiians. No, I don't know because it's like Canadian ham, right? Like I
It's
I
wild
truly
boar
don't
and
know.
pineapple. So like,
But I don't know. I don't know who. Yeah, I don't know the origin of it, but I mean, I would for sure eat pineapple on pizza in Hawaii, and yeah, it's great. But then you see, I have friends that like, when I'm eating it and they look at me and it's like, that's disgusting. How can you do that?
What traditionally, if you were, what is on a Hawaiian pizza usually, like
Yeah,
traditional?
I mean that's pretty Canadian ham, right?
Yep,
Pineapple and then the cheese and then the sauce and everything, and that's
Cool.
pretty much it.
Yeah.
Spam.
So
Yeah, spam's big in Hawaii, right?
listen, hold on. I love Spam. I eat Spam. Like, first of all, I never eat out of the can. I always go ahead and put on the grill or like,
Got
stove top, and then Spam musubi. If
You
you
just
guys,
gotta raw dog that stuff, man.
I no, I can't raw dog that, bro. I
Not the
can't.
potted meat.
Yeah. No, but see, John, right there, I just wanted to call that out. I mean, look at how, the transition and like how we just elevated, it's like that was literally what it was like on set. We might have a little hiccup or there might be a little something where we're like, okay, what can we do with this? Okay, maybe we should restart, whatever. But it's like just adding layer on layer on layer. I mean, that was just right there. I needed to call that out because that's exactly how it was on set, where it just sort of
So true, man.
evolves into something organic and, something that's even better than what it probably was initially.
Yeah.
So true, man.
Yeah, everybody's in tears laughing, not from something horrible happening. You gotta love it. Well, is there anything you guys would like to say to your fans that you got out there?
Honestly, man, I
Hi,
just kind of
Mom.
want to say thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that? What was that?
Hi,
What
Mom.
do you got that? What do you got there?
Who, me?
Me?
What was that, Cullen? What do you got there? You're
Yeah,
holding
I got a
something.
nice little, it's like I got a nice little
Oh,
heart.
I thought you were holding a one of those what are those things
orange.
called? A tomato?
No tomatoes, bro. I'm not about to start making a pizza in front of everyone.
Yeah,
Right.
right. No, I mean, I think I just want to say thank you to everybody that supported, out the last couple of years. Like, that's seriously, thank you to anybody that, donated, friends, family. Just seriously, thank you so much,
Yeah,
because
thank you for
making
that.
movies is so hard. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy, especially on a scale like this. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and it takes time, and I just appreciate everybody's patience so much. And I really think people are going to dig this. And like Cullen said, everybody says it, but I think we do have something different than a lot of the independent movies out there. And I say that confidently. I really do. I think we have something great, something fun, and something I think that people will dig. And yeah, just thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, if you want to watch the movie, come hang out with us. We're
Hell yeah.
I will just speak for myself because I'm a psycho. Come hang out at a screening. We are approachable people. I've had people in the past message me on Instagram like, "Hey, I saw you at this. Didn't want to bother you. Bother me." I
Yeah.
love talking about the stuff I make with people and seeing like how they feel about it and whatnot. So yeah, if you come to a screening, come talk to us.
And even if you don't like it, like we love talking to people who don't.
I'm very used to making films that people don't like.
Welcome to my
Blair Witch
life,
was
Wes
something.
Robinson.
I feel like Wes plays very intense roles. I feel like I somehow find myself playing like the douchebag asshole type roles. And a lot of times it's like, some people who don't know you, they might think that that's how you really are, right? Like someone like Blair. I mean, he is truly authentically himself, and he is in a way, certain aspects.
He really is in a way an asshole.
I thought that was where you were
And I was,
going.
I was like, where is this
Where's
going,
that
man? I was
asshole?
like, oh my God.
the comic.
I was like, what?
It's crazy to
Oh,
think
sorry.
that the actor was acting.
No, Cullen was so right though. Like Blair, like everybody has their own, individual character and what they're doing. But if you look closely, you can really see in each character a bit of their own self. You know what I mean? And Blair's got that quirky side to him. Cullen's got the different stuff Craven's got that he's incorporated, and same thing as Wes. And so Cullen's right. I mean, it definitely comes out and shows through. And but that also is what makes it fun working with all these people and all these guys. You know what I mean? So.
Exactly. All to say we are really nice, we promise. So
Yeah, right, yeah.
talk to
I
us
thought
really-
this has been a pleasant experience. So
Good. We can all be a lot to handle sometimes, so that's
fucking actors, am I right?
Yeah.
it's the two actors here are real assholes.
Yeah, well.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for all being on the show. This has been
No, man, thank you.
And thank you so much for giving us the pre-screener, and we'll be doing coverage on this all week. So I'm
Amazing.
super excited. It's been so much fun. And the last thing I want to say before we get off here is you guys keep saying that this is different from other indie movies. And I think we need to erase the rhetoric of indie. This is different from other movies. It doesn't matter. The only thing that indie dictates is the budget. Everything else, y'all have made a high caliber film that you have a lot to fucking be proud of. And I've seen a lot of that in the indie world. And again, it's all that says is the parameters. It doesn't say anything about the quality of the story or the gravity and magnitude that you choose to make. So,
Thanks.
bravo,
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thank you
And
so much.
Seriously.
as always, I've said this to you so many times, but thank you guys for being so supportive of
From day one.
everybody all the time. Like it's so encouraging and nice, and it means a lot to all of us. So thank you.
Yeah, and we talk about you guys all the time, and we've been looking forward to this. Genuinely, we've been waiting for this since like the conception of this movie, because that's about how long we've known you. So we this is a long time coming, and we're stoked to be on this show.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, guys, watch The House Among the Fucking Trees. It is going to
Let's
be
go.
awesome.
That's the title.
You get to see all those cool people in it, behind the camera, in front of the camera. I can tell you already, I got to see it. It's fucking awesome. If you see it at a convention, go get it. When physical media comes out, get a copy of it, because all of that directly affects their next projects, right? Is all of that money keeps accruing. And it's a matter of, and I've heard amazing things from a lot of people about this circle of people that have been making films where everyone is so dedicated to making sure that people get paid, and how important that is to everybody. And that doesn't even matter on the Hollywood spectrum a lot of times. So to see everyone really looking after each other to make these beautiful projects is something to really revere. So we will always support shit like that. So
Thank you.
congratulations again. Guys, go watch The House Among the Trees as soon as you can. Make sure you follow the links below. That way you can find out how to follow these guys, all of the associate links, so you can see when shit's coming out. And if you choose to follow us, that's fucking great, I guess. But thank you guys for joining us once again. Where it creaks, it cracks, and we laugh at the creatures that go bump in the night. Good night, everybody.
Right on.
Take care.